Post Anfield, how is Lowe today, and is he available for selection this week?
He missed out by a day, Andy. That was a really frustrating point of view, frustrating situation for myself, because Max has been excellent since he's come into the football club, and him and Jayden have been really pushing, and really looking forward to him, starting his career at Sheffield United, and the qualities that I've seen and everybody else has seen, taking that into the Premier League. So to after 10 or 15 minutes suffer the injury that he did was really unfortunate, and obviously the timing of it being on that day and the protocols that we had to go through was the reason that he missed out. He was basically training full tilt at the back end of the week, but because of the days and the protocol regarding head injuries, no chances taken by anybody, and rightly so, he missed out.
From the squad that was at Anfield, are there any other issues for this one?
No, there's no other issues. So Max is back with us. Fleck still out injured, possibly for the next 4 weeks. Mousset boot off, back working on the grass. So looking at him to progress in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and obviously Jack O'Connell is the longer one, really, that in the early stages of his rehabilitation.
With Lees, then, is that a little better? Because I could have sworn a couple of weeks ago you were thinking maybe it's still a couple of months for him. So has there been
It's a couple of months, a month ago.
Well, I suppose I'm playing with weeks.
I mean, for that type of injury, Andy, it really is. It's not an exact science and not an exact date. So he might be earlier than expected, but we're possibly looking in around the start of December for him to be hopefully available. It might be a couple of weeks afterwards. Who knows if it's a slower process? But these are the important times now for Lees and us in the work that we put into him. And as you can obviously understand, we will be absolutely ramping that up, because he has been an important player for us, and he will be going forward.
Speaking of players who've continued to rise to prominence, he's up for press today. How would you sum up Sander Berge's development and rise to where he is right now? Because in the last couple of weeks he's been first class.
Well, he has. I mean, we invested in a talented young footballer that was playing in a different league. I always remember one of the highlights of my days here at this football club was his debut. The way the players took to him, the scenes afterwards. It was just incredible, the way the supporters took to Xander and gave him the welcome. I don't think he'll ever underestimate how big a day that was in his football career. But from my point of view, Xander coming off after about 60 minutes and could barely breathe because of the pace and the intensity of the Premier League. And what he's done is, through the lockdown period, worked extremely hard. And I think you've got to recognise as well that there was 4 or 5 young players at our football club through that period that couldn't see the family, couldn't see the friends, a long way from home. At times couldn't really see any of the teammates, and had to get on with it in a city far away from where they'd been brought up with. So that was a tough period for him, but I thought it just showed what he was about as a person, and not just as a player. How he worked through that period, and how they all did, and the signs that we all saw after lockdown in the remaining 10 games of the season. I think arguably he was our best player, and this season as well he's been exceptional. He's played as a sitting midfield player. He's got that mobility to play that position. He's got the intelligence to play that position, but he's still got the power as well to play one up. So wherever he plays for us, he's certainly a big player for us. But I believe he's been outstanding. Obviously, taking the penalty at Liverpool shows what we think about him and the courage that he has for a young man. And he hopefully he's going to be part of a bright future at this football club.
And hit it off with Ampadu in midfield last week. I mean, that was one of the key high points, wasn't it, of the match at Anfield? As a first goal for those to play in that role together at that venue, they really hit it off. Definitely.
The game has moved on. You have to be so mobile as a professional footballer now. Mobility is a key word everybody uses because of the mobility and athleticism in other teams. So I believe that was the right formation for us, and obviously we changed it when we really had to go for it second half. The game does become a bit stretched, but when you've got the likes of Xander and Ethan, the way they get about the park, it gives you a little bit more security. So I thought Ethan's performance was outstanding. I know the manager at Chelsea sees him as a sitting midfield player. He obviously played right centre half at Leipzig and in the middle of a back three at Leipzig as well in his time there. So they saw him at that position. But I thought both of them were outstanding last Saturday night. But mobility, Andy, really is key. They've got to be able to handle the football. They've got to be able to tactically put themselves in good positions, which they both did for a young age. They're both learners. They're both very enthusiastic about learning, about getting better. Got a huge appetite for that. But the game is moving on, and it is a mobile game, and players have to get about the park. And we've certainly got players that can do that, and certainly in them two, they certainly possess those qualities.
Come on to the City match in a moment in time, but there's been talk further this week about John Lundstram and his immediate future. How do you see it playing out then? Is it a definite departure in January?
Yeah, it's been very frustrating for myself personally. I want John to stop. I wanted to stop here. We were been in discussions for quite a number of months regarding him stopping. It's not a situation that I've had to encounter too many times here, where players go into the last year of the contract. So the discussions have obviously taken place before that, because we don't act like that as a football club. But got to respect John's decision. We've offered him a very, very attractive contract, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the football club concerned, that's up there with the top players at the football club. And he's made a decision that him and his agent, that he doesn't want to sign it, which is fine, and I respect that. He's still a Sheffield United player, so he's still available for selection. But we've come into a period where, there's three options for me. It's quite straightforward. He personally runs down his contract, which he's got every right to do that at the end of the season. That's not ideal for us. We try to recoup some value from the player in the January window, which is obviously the best option for Sheffield United. Or the best option for Sheffield United is that he signs that new and improved contract, which obviously doesn't or won't happen, which is unfortunate. And so there, I think that's pretty straightforward. He isn't going to sign a new contract. He most probably wants to run his contract down, or we will ask or invite offers for very good young player that's been in the Premier League, first season in the Premier League, and did well, especially the early part of it. But you know, I think you know my attitude towards it. You know, I'll move on, and obviously, you know, we'll I'm not think too much about it. I've got to really concentrate. Players who want to commit and sign here, which the likes of Fleck, Stevens, Norwood, the new players have, the players that have been on the journey with us have, John Egan has, Basham has, Sharp has. So we feel it's a very, very good offer, and there's always two sides to it, and John and his agent feel that they want to you know, maybe negotiate elsewhere. So basically that's where it's at.
Yeah, and does it provide a dilemma for you as to whether to play him or not then?
I've got to make that decision. I've got to look at that in a short, medium and long term view. So with the players that have committed to us, you know, should I side behind those, or a player that doesn't want to sign for the football club? I think that, you know, I believe that if John does play, that he will do his best. He will do his best, and I wouldn't pick him if I didn't think he wasn't in the right frame of mind, or he wouldn't step out onto the pitch. I wouldn't select him. So, but obviously I've got to think quite hard with it, and I'm you know, very, very frustrated about that. I you know, cards on the table, I think John should have signed it, and he don't believe he should sign it, and his agents should sign it. So that's basically where it's at.
Changing tack then, look, I appreciate all things are relative, but what do you make of this Man City group right now? Have teams like West Ham, most notably in the Premier League, perhaps shown that this City team have lost some kind of air of invincibility? Clearly they've got some amazing players, but they're not necessarily where they were 12 months ago.
I just think that football is an incredible business that we're involved in, and there will always be opinion on it. I didn't see much loss of invincibility about them in midweek when they were playing in the Champions League. If I'm honest, if teams don't win games, you know, there's always, especially the likes of Manchester City, there's always going to be people offering an opinion upon them, and doubting players and doubting managers, and we've had it ourselves. And you know, I should imagine from a relative point of view, you know, people will be looking at us and saying that, you know, all the things that maybe people are saying relatively up the food chain regarding Manchester City. They won't be bothered about that at all. They've got world-class players. They invest in world-class players. They've got a manager that's been incredibly successful wherever he's gone. You know, an outstanding Liverpool team won the Premier League ahead of them, and we're still into, you know, game 6, 7 of the early part of a season. For me, no judgment can be made after this part of the season, and especially not on players of the calibre of what they possess, and a manager and a football club that is one of the most powerful, not just in this country, not just in Europe, but in world football. So I'm not going to offer any opinion on them. Whether they think it's a slow start for them as much as I think it's been a slow start for us, I think that maybe comes from within. But I think this is just the world that we live in, Andy, and people will want to talk about people's failings when they don't maybe hit the heights that everybody thinks that they should do from the off. they might have the same issues. They might have a couple of injuries that have affected them, and a few bits and pieces, a couple of players that really they need to get up to speed. But that can happen with world-class players pretty quickly. I think when you're talking about players, you know, getting up to speed and hitting form, when they're average players and they lose form, it takes a lot longer. When they're world-class players, which they've definitely got, it can quickly turn around, and obviously for their point of view, they would have been expected to go and beat Manchester City, but they're going to expected to beat West Ham, but they didn't, and they'll be looking to come and they'll be expected to beat Sheffield United, and it's up to us to put up that stern challenge and opposition like we did last Saturday at Liverpool.